It's good background. It's a club thing.
Yeah.
It's a little casual format. What headquarters came up with as a brilliant idea. It's a small format. This is not a conferencing thing. This is a small grassroots engagement format, and I really like it. It's also a moment for having perhaps a good conversation. That's all about a good conversation, I would
Ah,
say.
yeah, that's lovely. Yeah.
Hello,
Right?
also from my side. I love the idea to call it club.
Hey, good. Thanks for joining.
My pleasure. And good to see you
And
again.
and what I suggest is simply, hey, we start a club if that is okay, colleagues, everybody, friends. So I mean, being now 3 months, more than 3 months in this nice role, I thought let's use the format what headquarter came up, and I think it's a great format, really. Thank you, Barbara, and colleagues at headquarter. You work so hard in ideating how we can engage better with the members, with the industry, and as I said before, it's really grassrooting which we have to establish. And in my view of the last years, I think it's even more important now that board presidents, I don't like the title actually, that board and leadership of organizations are connected with the bases and are regularly really talking, establishing a good communication with the bases. I think that's predominantly important for associations in these days, and using this format can be maybe bring up new ideas and new things. But anyhow, I wanted to share with you a couple of thoughts, and I think everybody now over a year has understood that that the crisis has impacted media extremely. I mean, the transformation, the acceleration of the transformation, everything is digital, remote working is not an issue, but also the negative impact to the industries on the financial side is obvious. But what I would like to do now is actually being faced with all the challenges, and everybody of us is faced with the challenges, that we turn around and say, what are now the opportunities for us? Of course, 2021 will not be easy for everybody, but it's full of ideas. And I think people are eager to come out of the frustration of the home office and out of the frustration of what happened, and seek to do new things. And SMPTE should be a leader here. This is my view. And SMPTE with partners, because I think there are so many new things which are transversal across deep technology, across the editorial workflows, about the creative side, and across associations and bodies working on the themes that we need to seek for new partnerships and realize them. And all of that means that SMPTE can't stay as we were before the crisis, where we already have started to change, but I think we need to change even more, because the industry is changing. And if we are not ahead in certain areas, provide our knowledge and thought leadership are key on the educational side. If we don't address the right topics on where are the interoperability questions on emerging technologies, and standards is doing a lot here already, in a much more data and software driven world, I think then we would be over time, if we are not there, would lose our standing in the industry. And I'm very much for it that we accelerate the change amongst ourselves, and this includes all of us, that we need to help that this is happening. And I know that headquarters is very much behind it and helps us a lot, and this event already proves that we are ready for the change. So it's not easy, but it's also super exciting, because there are so many opportunities ahead. And I think this transformation, we have simply to accept it, and we need, as I always say, we need to surf on the wave, not below the wave. And for those who are surfers, they know what it means if you're under the wave. It's not fun sometimes. So, I mean, we have done already a bit, I mean, in these 3 months, in terms of how we work with the board. I mean, we tried, and some of you know who are sitting on the board, that we stopped 6-hour or day-long, very procedural meetings 2 or 3 times a year. And we have it now every month. We try to bring in inspirations by means of external speakers. We have them shorter. I admit sometimes it's not as short as it should be. So usually I take more time than the 90 minutes, forgive me. But it will be, the target is always 90 minutes, and to have more engagement allows people to speak up and to have a safe space. I think it's not good if the chair of a meeting always talks and the rest is just listening. That's counterproductive, I think, to what we want as the future of SMPTE. We want to have a very colorful, I always say colorful, because the society around us is colorful. There are all type of humans, and all type of humans need to find a place in SMPTE. And this also means that we have a safe space to talk to each other. I mentioned several times, always start speaking, share your ideas, share your criticism, grassroots leadership, I call it. So it's not from top down, but it's rather from bottom up. And also, and this is then of course the return, what we hope, what we gain is micro initiatives, micro volunteers. We want to see that engagement also leads, and it can be 2, 3, 4 people who come up with a meetup, talk about things, and then later on disseminate it on a wider forum, perhaps here on an SMPTE club event, about what they found. So it's much more really from the bottom up, and include the membership more than in the past, I think, also in decision making and giving direction of the SMPTE. We have always had our 3 pillars, and I'm almost done. And this was absolutely right to design the SMPTE, I think, many, many years ago, along the line of these 3 pillars. Maybe if we would have a green field today, we would do it differently, because we have so many transversal activities. When you see standardization as a workhorse of innovation, they come up with something which has to be fed in the educational part, which has to be fed into the membership part. And I think these transversal activities, we will see them more and more in the future, and they go in both directions. This is something what we certainly need to foster, and with some of the initiatives which we have started, we already see that the fruits are coming from more horizontal transversal activities. And I use one of the examples in a minute. What have we done aside of that? So I mentioned in the board, it's about people. I think it's all about people at the end of the day. And we have augmented the board with what we call these governors at large. And it's all about diversification in a way. Great people actually are with us. We have Movie Labs, Jim Hellman. We have Jim Skinner from Facebook. We have Chaitanya from India joining us as a governor at large. We have Richard Welch from Deluxe from the UK coming to the board and really bringing in new ideas, other ideas that we already get from the regular board members, and that's important. The awards, we address the awards. I mean, the awards are super important, of course, for SMPTE. Maybe, and this was quite hard expressed in one of the last meetings, and I'm open for very hard voices as well. People said, well, you know, the SMPTE awards, they are for old white men. And this was, of course, a torpedo. But I think a lot of reality in this sentence. And I know that Eric now is going with the team and with a high ambition on looking at the awards, see how they can be refreshed so that they are also attractive for younger professionals. And there will be more changes to come. I mean, be patient. We just started 3 months in the office. So it's important to speak up. And I always try not to oversee any emails. So everybody's always welcomed. You can even call me or email me, and I seek for input. I seek for dialogue and really get the things changed. But with this, I think just saying that's at the moment all for the moment. There's a lot on the agenda, and yesterday with headquarter, and by the way, my big compliments to all staff at headquarter, how they manage also the change and the crisis and the COVID impact. Congratulations. I know it's very stressful, but my big thanks to them. But today here, let's use a little bit the opportunity. I stop talking and hand over to a wonderful team of guests which have been volunteered through my emails to join us. We have Sylvain Gauntlett from the UK. We have Jessica Byrne, Pixar, Renard Jenkins and Michael Singh from Warner Media. And of course, we have Barbara with us as Executive Director of the SMPTE. And what we want to do is just to have a bit of a conversation. And everybody here on who's joining us, feel free to drop in the chat box. Frank is picking it up and then it's forwarding the questions. Don't wait for the end of the session or the conversation. If you have something which bothers you, which you would like to share, just raise it. The group is small enough so that we can afford also a bit of a dialogue. But maybe how we start is, I would simply ask my guests, which are here today, introduce yourself. What's your day job? What's your relation to SMPTE? What does SMPTE bring for you as a daily, and your daily life? What's the values? And just easy. Simon Gauntlett in the UK. Tell us.
Hi, Hans, and hello, everyone. So those that don't know me, my name's Simon Gauntlett. I'm the Director of Imaging Technology at Dolby, where I've been working at Dolby for the last 5 years, nearly 5 years. I work in the CTO office around doing exploratory work around improving the audio-visual experience. So most of my time at the moment is spent on spatial computing, so AR, VR, mixed reality, that kind of thing, what that might present to us as opportunities with the audiovisual, as the audiovisual industry in improving that experience and making it better for not just for entertainment, but also for interaction and collaboration and all these other things as well. I've been the chair of the SMPTE UK section for the past 5 years. And the UK section's been pretty active over those 5 years, and before that, obviously with Peter Weitzel heavily involved driving that in the early days. We run a lot of events and meetups and that kind of stuff. And in the UK, we have 5 student chapters as well, so we're pretty lucky to have a good section of representation from student chapters, which is great. I first became aware of SMPTE when I first joined the BBC, and then I thought SMPTE was just really about standards. But today, my involvement in SMPTE actually is more about the community. It's more about meeting people, learning, making connections, and you know, we work in an amazing industry with an amazing group of people, and it's really trying to make the most of that. That is society. So that's me. I don't know if you want me to say more at this stage, Hans, or if that's enough of an intro to move on to the next one.
What does SMPTE bring for you? I would be keen to hear.
What does it bring? So
that's a question.
Like I say, for me, most of it is around that community aspect. So it's around. I've always loved the conferences and you know, that mix of education, so finding out what's, you know, great presentations and papers and things, finding out what's going on, but also being there with people. And obviously this year that was challenging. because we were all remote. We're all in our offices or rooms or whatever we've got, and so that really highlighted the fact to me that we need to find ways of recreating that engagement for people to engage properly with each other and get the most out of it. And I think the positive side was a lot more people. It opened up the conference to a whole load of people who normally can't afford to travel or aren't able to travel, commitments and that kind of stuff. So it was a great opportunity. But it did highlight that there are still some issues around this. So like I say, and I mentioned to some people earlier on this call, I have a weekly meeting in the virtual space, and just being able to hear someone on your left-hand side and turn to them and speak to them and see their lips moving, it's really compelling and really gives that feeling of engagement. So coming back to the question, what SMPTE can do, I mean, I think it can help facilitate more of those sorts of engagements and interactions, because we're a global community. So hopefully we can use some of these tools as more and more people like Hans get their hands on headsets.
Thanks, Simon. Hey, Jessica, are you around?
Still around. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Jessica Wan. I'm a media systems engineer at Pixar Animation Studios, and I've been there full time for about 9 years now. I'm based here in the West Coast of the United States in the San Francisco Bay Area. So it's about 8 in the morning, but I'm doing okay. I was having my breakfast. I don't know if anyone noticed. Sorry about that. My day job, so our team is known as the Avengers at Work, the AV engineers, and we support the AV infrastructure at Pixar, everything from screening rooms, recording studios, editorial suites, etc. And I've been very fortunate to start my career there and continue to be there. About 2 years ago, my manager at the time suggested that I get an SMPTE membership. I had heard of it before. Some of the more senior members of the team have gone to conferences and talk about journals and things like that. But that was my first real exposure. That year was my first and only in-person SMPTE conference so far. So I look forward to most, but it was really interesting, great variety of topics. I've just been so sheltered. My only full-time job so far has been at Pixar. So it was really eye-opening to see there's this whole world of professionals in different areas of media and entertainment technology out there, and all kinds of people doing all kinds of interesting things. In terms of what SMPTE brings to me, which is Hans's question, well, I'm also currently a section manager of the SF chapter of SMPTE and also a new board member representing the West Coast. So clearly I'm still figuring it out, but what it's brought so far, as Simon said, the community and learning are really big. I've met a lot of people, mostly virtually, but hopefully in person someday. And I haven't quite taken a full advantage of it yet, but I feel like everyone here is a really good resource, both in terms of technological questions and professional questions, and people who've seen where the industry's been and where it may go. And it's pretty exciting to be a part of that. And the learning, I've taken some SMPTE courses, which have been really helpful for me. I'm getting better at terminology and technology, HDR in particular. I took that class recently, and it just enables me to work better with the more senior engineers and start getting into supporting the post-production workflows, in addition to kind of I wouldn't want to say simpler, but stuff I'm more used to, like the screening room infrastructure and things like that. So that is me. Back to you, Hans.
Not to me.
No,
Renard,
you pass
not
it
to
on.
me. You must say over to there or over to there, Renard. Is Renard with us? He always does signs. Probably he will say, not now.
He's on mute.
Can you hear me
First person on
now?
mute. There you go.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good next day to those of you who may be in Australia. It is, it's good to be here. So good to see all these faces. It does get lonely in these rooms when this is all that we're doing for, a year or so. So for me, SMPTE, let's see, I learned about SMPTE way back in my college days. I had a professor who was really into, getting the journal. And so we had one journal and he would pass it around to all the students. And that's how we get our information. And of course there were, the color bars and all that kind of stuff. So we learned the standards. But what I was always interested in was the articles. And so for me, what SMPTE offered was an opportunity to see what was coming and what was new and exciting, which is sort of what my career has been. So my day job is I work at Warner Media along with Michael Zink. He and I are on the same team, and he hears me say this all the time. I'm so happy that we're finally working together, because we worked together in SMPTE for years, but now we're actually working together in our day jobs. And my job is both modernizing the acquisition process, whether it is from feature films or TV syndicated productions, or whether it is live sports and news and entertainment as that happens. And then the other side is production technology for all of those entities that I just explained. So trying to make sure that we're staying ahead of the game when it comes to innovation and being efficient. So that's what I do on my day job. My multiple my multiple other jobs include being a board member with HPA, the UHD Forum, a board member at Movie Labs, as well as a member of the CES CTA Technology Council. And then I'm also the VP of membership and a member of the XCOM for SMPTE, which I take extremely seriously. I'm so happy to be working with Hans and to be working with Barbara and the rest of the gang on all of this. We have a number of things that we're working on for membership. We're looking to get younger people involved by meeting them where they are. But we're also looking at extending our reach to some of the places like art institutes and technical schools, as well as historically Black colleges and the Hispanic College Association and universities. Those areas in which we have not really made a big dent, we plan to do that over the next year. We're trying really hard to do that. So that's what my focus is. Why is SMPTE important to me? It's important to me because of all of you. Getting to know so many people in this industry, but not only getting to know them, but getting to work with them and getting to work on some really cool projects and getting to actually move things forward and be innovative. Those are the things that really mean a lot to me. So I'm always excited about the opportunity to do that. And I also love the fact that I hopefully will become a bridge builder between all of these organizations and be able to bring us together so that we can do some stuff corporately to move a lot of this forward. So that's me.
Yes. Thank you, Renaud. Wise words. You need to point to the right or to left, depending where Michael is from you.
Michael, oh, there he is.
Okay.
There he is,
Thanks,
Michael.
Renaud. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Zink. As Renaud mentioned, my day job at Warner as well, where my role is overseeing the emerging and creative technology group. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing is really looking at new technology and how can it really be used in order to further storytelling, whether that's traditional storytelling through new technologies. A lot of the stuff around virtual production is certain things that we're looking at, or improving existing workflows, making images and sound better. We've had a lot of involvement over the years in HDR and getting that rolled out, for instance. But then also a lot of the stuff that Simon was talking about earlier about spatial computing and how do we use mixed reality, how do we use these immersive technologies to tell stories on different platforms or ideally across different platforms. And one of the really exciting things in there is when you go really a little bit further out is how do you use AI in order to have consumers interact with different characters? How do you use them in order to really get them engaged in your story worlds, etc.? So there's an awful lot of excitement around that and a lot of possibilities. And more recently, I ended up starting to manage another group that is focused on neurotechnology and how can you use biometric data and things of that nature to further storytelling or to make the viewing experience much better. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of really cool stuff coming down the pipe, and it's a lot of fun working in that area. The way I actually got started in SMPTE is similar to what many others have said, through the standards process. I think at the time I was a Technicolor, and I was thrown into a project to look into digital cinema, and I didn't really know anything about it, but I was told, go to SMPTE, they do the standards there, and you can start learning there. So I ended up starting to attend a lot of these standards meetings and learned a lot of the people and realized that SMPTE was a great resource to learn new things, to learn certain technologies. And in addition to learning all about digital cinema, it was also learning that SMPTE was doing an awful lot of other standards work and was involved in so many other different things that were relevant for my day job. And it really helped me foster this community. And I think that's one of the main things I really learned very quickly, is that these members within SMPTE were a great resource. And I think that's what SMPTE's given me the most, is being able to rely on those members. And funny thing is, a lot of them have a lot of knowledge, and most of all have very strong opinions about certain things. And that is a really good thing, because they're willing to share those opinions. You may not always agree, and that is perfectly fine, but at least it opens up the discussion. It opens up your mind to start thinking about what others might be considering in these areas. And that has been something really, really important for me, and to really help my professional career. Being able to work with the resources, work with the people in SMPTE, all of you, and at the same time being able to get a lot of the educational benefits out of that. Renard mentioned it as well. Reading the articles in the Motion Imaging Journal has always been something really interesting for me. I always enjoyed doing that. The conferences have always been really important, and I've been playing some part in some of those over the years. And it was a lot of fun being able to put conferences together and being able to make sure that it's a curated program. And I think that is a really important aspect of these things, that SMPTE is one of the few organizations, especially if you look at the journal, where you have peer-reviewed articles. It isn't anyone can just put anything in there. It is peer-reviewed, so the quality level is really, really high. And I think that has been very successful over the years. And I think that's something that is really a hallmark for SMPTE as well, and delivering really great quality. So most recently, since the beginning of the year, I took on the role as Education Vice President for SMPTE as well, simply because I felt that education was something always important for me. And I felt it was a good time to get even more involved and really start thinking about how can we make the education efforts even better. I think there's a lot of consumption patterns that have changed over the years for people. There's a lot of different people that you reach in different ways. And I think there's a lot of ways for SMPTE to get more engaged with the community and expose more of our members and the amazing work that they do on a daily basis. So I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you and with of course, the SMPTE headquarter team, which are doing an amazing job to keep furthering our education efforts. And now I'm gonna put it either there or there to Barbara.
Yeah, where's Barbara? Hey, Barbara, where are you?
Hi everyone. We're so delighted that you all came today, and we want this to be very clubby, casual chit chat. And I know we kick it off with some discussion from the leadership, but it's your opportunity also to ask questions, and hopefully we have answers. And if not, we'll we'll get the answers for you. This is a pretty dynamic time for us, and we're super excited to have this new platform that we want to continue to roll out and expand. We already have a club for cloud media that Peter Wharton, shout out to Peter Wharton, he was on, I don't see him at the moment, but he kicked that off, and I'm actually going to be hosting a she-her club next week to really help with attracting more women into media technology as a career choice. And it's going to be fun. I've got 2 high school students, I think, that are going to show up, and a college student, and also some industry people, and really understand what it takes to encourage girls to choose STEM and then engineering as their career choice. So something kind of new. And then this morning we announced also a very new program we're calling SMPTE Plus. How many of you saw the email this morning? I hope. Raise your hand. Yes. SMPTE Plus is a new product that we're delivering. It's a virtual think of it as a mini virtual conference, a day-long deep dive into a topic. We plan to do at least 4, maybe more, and this year, and they're free to members. You need to join to get access to it for free, but you will get access to the best content prior to the event. And then, of course, you'll be able to interact with colleagues during the event. The first one is going to be on June 3rd, and the topic is color science, in particular, 6 primary colors. We're very excited to be working with NASA and Baylor University on this topic. So I think it's going to be really terrific, and you won't want to miss it. And part of the live performance is to be able to do this kind of interaction as well. So we really want to build on this notion of community, and SMPTE is the place to meet and greet and learn from others in the field. So I would love to hear from all of you. And
Thank you.
Start talking.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, thanks, Barbara, for this little advertisement and commercial break. Thank you very much. Coming back now to the core of how we change SMPTE, on how we transform it. I mean, you are the SMPTE, honestly. Of course, I have my vision, and we go through change. Some parts work easy, some parts create resistance. Heavy resistance, that's cool. So we do something right, I always say. But what's your view? Is anybody out there, before I go back to the guests and of course ask them, is anybody out there who want to say something about, and you can use a bit of a wording if you want, which is used in lean startup language and management. You can say, I like, but I would wish that SMPTE. I would wish, feel free, come on. Who has the courage to be the icebreaker? Is anybody out there?
As you know,
oh God, no.
I'm only too prepared to do that. I think building on what we in the UK did when it's getting on for 10 years ago, we had to start without the OMs being in place, so to work out what SMPTE was all about. And the great thing that we then discovered was the great words that Bill Miller put in as to what a section should be. Sections exist to provide services and information locally to members in line with the 3 pillars of education, standards and membership. An effective and well-run centre provides a sense of community for its members within a geographic area, educates them, creates opportunities for members and interested non-members to network with each other, and creates an environment that attracts new members. So that is what a section does, and it's probably the most convenient sort of, let's call it a lump of members, because relating to 7,000 individuals is a bit difficult. The fact that SMPTE does not have any committee that helps Reynard out, unlike the other VPs, so that he can, under Governance OM 18.2, which is all the committees of the board. What's needed is to sort that out, because why should, and I'm not saying this is something we shouldn't be doing, archives have the same prominence as education. It has had greater prominence in SMPTE than the sections. There are also other constraints. I'm very pleased that Michael Zink and Reynard are co-workers, because in SMPTE they are certainly not, because of the constraints that have been put in. Now, as Hans and a few others know, I looked at this and drafted an idea for a rework of all of this to put people in, so that we have groups looking across the organization, a group looking at the various ways in which we collaborate with other organizations. I, running UK, was talking to 18 organizations, because we are unique in SMPTE. We are film, television, digital media, and we are international. Nobody else is that. And that is what we needed, and what we were doing starting off 8 years ago.
Grassroots, as I said before, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and that's what's needed. Talking to the creative people, talking to people, understanding the strategy. You know, we put some of the aims of SMPTE at the time were very similar to those of the BBC in terms of what they were talking about, and that's what's needed. And what's needed is not for the board to meet more often. The board's sole function is to hold the executives to account. Doesn't do anything, it can't do anything. We want people in there working more across the organization to provide this link. And let's just have a look at how, you know, we don't seem to seek people.
Can you round up a little bit, because we want to let others also speak.
I think that's really all I'm saying. What is needed is a SMPTE central of members who are working to provide these links. Certainly to redraft Governance OM 18.2 and just go through and get everybody more talking. So there's these cross links between the three pillars. I mean, I remember when I was in education,
so it's transversal activities. I think it's really transversal
activities and actually doing things. And that's the whole thing. Community. We are an international community. End of statement. Over to somebody.
Thank you. No, you need to pick somebody. Hey, colleagues, come up.
Who should I pick? John Furdo, as it lies in his area.
Ooh, no.
Being very
let's wait, colleagues. Hey, is there somebody from the younger generations who want to say something? So that's a good point, yeah. Good point. Thanks for bringing up this transversal nature, which we identified as already as an issue. Thanks for amplifying this. Any younger generation here?
Depends how you cut the generations, really, Hans. But
oh, okay.
I'm too young to have a vaccine at the moment in the UK, so that makes me young.
That's an argument. Simon, go.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm younger generation, I guess.
Oh, super. I think Simon, you can't win this one. Please, Nicole. Hey.
Hi, I'm from Company 3. I am diving into the world of image metadata, and I am learning about SMPTE. For a while, I thought you guys were just about the color bars, and I get in a lot of trouble when they deliver with the wrong color bars. So, but yeah, it's been really interesting learning about Python and all the image libraries and the different types of metadata that you can extract, and also looking at the journals and just reading all the white papers and getting caught up on HDR and SDR technology. So I'm really excited to just kind of dive into this world, and I can't wait to get my hands on the peer review journal. So,
Nicole, where do you work? Where are you located?
I'm in LA.
Mhm.
I work at Company 3, and yeah, I actually just saw Barbara at the HPA conference, so that was
Okay,
really cool too.
super. What would you wish? So if you could say, I wish something from SMPTE, what would that be?
Um, uh, you know, as a college student, because I went to CSUN, and CSUN has a really super robust film program. I definitely wish that I met you guys more at SMPTE, because like one of the things I learned coming out of school was there's posts and there's a lot of focus on creative posts, but there's not much focus on business posts and the technological side of posts, which is a real shame because
Mhm,
at the end of the
mhm.
day, we know that not everybody's going to be an editor, but I think it's still really cool to learn about all this stuff because it's like our format and it's the way that we tell stories. And I think the more that you expose the younger crowd to it, the more that they will also understand what it means to really create the media that they do when they're doing the types of edits they do, because
Mhm.
it can really throw people for a loop when they're learning how to work with all the codecs, and definitely coming from like the different cameras and whatnot, and also learning about the OTT platforms, because that was quite an introduction for me, like just jumping in from like creative editing to like deliveries right away. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, definitely, Nicole, please reach out to me and we'll start a student chapter at your school.
There you
So
go.
yeah, definitely reach out
There
to
you
me.
go.
I want to know more about your school. I want to, get involved and see what we can do there. That would be great.
Yeah,
Do you
for
have Renat's email address?
um I will
I will
Maybe
put
screenshot.
Renat.
I will put it in the chat.
Super, super. Thanks.
Nicole,
And
just real quick, what was the, sorry, what was your school? I didn't catch the name.
CSUN, California State University, Northridge. Like,
Northridge. Okay, great.
yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
and
And
Thanks for
nice
your
to
I'd like,
see you.
intervention.
Nice to see you
Anybody
guys
else?
too.
Simon wanted to say something. I
yeah, no,
cut you
I just
short.
want to build on that point really. So
Yeah.
in the UK, we've been for a while we've been trying to, as Barbara mentioned, trying to improve the diversity of people going into our sector, into the technical side of media and audiovisual experiences. But actually now we're finding that it's not just a diversity thing, it's just getting any people in. And we're actually seeing university courses, college courses in the UK being closed down because there just aren't enough people going into those fields that we would traditionally do, which will eventually cause us a skill shortage in our professional life. So I think it really is something that SMPTE needs to look at, how we can try and market ourselves, market the fact that technology in media is an interesting and fun area to work in, to promote that, but certainly to sort of potential college and university students, but actually even to younger students, school kids. We should be explaining to school kids how cool it is, because they're all on the WhatsApp and Snapchat and all these platforms, how cool that technology is and how it works. And I think SMPTE's got a big role there to do that.
Simon,
Yes,
that is so
TikTok.
cool.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Hans, but we were talking about this in the last membership meeting, and then Mike Zink and I were talking about how do we bring these two things together. One of the things that we were talking about goes right to what you were saying. In the US, they have science fairs like at every single middle school. What if SMPTE was somehow involved in those science fairs? Because, a lot of them are sponsored by like, either organizations that are very STEM focused or something like that. How can we be a part of that type of thing where kids in middle school start to understand what SMPTE is? I mean, they all have devices. They all love, this content in this video world. We have a captive audience. We just got to get them to know who we are. So yeah, that was perfect that you're talking about that, because Zink and I were talking about it too.
And they absolutely love it. So in the UK, Sky have an experience where people can come in and they can play with a TV studio and that kind of stuff. And there's a Global Radio, which is the big organization that owns lots of radio stations, do a similar thing. But I absolutely think that SMPTE should be part of that and should be leading some of that stuff, because I think we've got collectively, we've got a responsibility to ensure that people do come into our industry and start replacing some of these grey-haired white old men that need to leave. No offense to anybody on the call.
That's it. That's it. Hey, anybody else who wants to?
Wait a minute, I resemble that remark, Simon. Remember?
Oh, well, we said.
Craig, someone
specifically, you were talking about Pat. You were talking only about Pat.
I want to hear young people coming in. Young people coming in. Everybody below. I don't. No offense, colleagues, but below 50, 40. Anybody out there?
Julian. Julian.
Hey, Julian. Julian. Greetings,
yeah,
Julian.
So a good threshold there. Yeah, I'm just to make a little introduction. I'm from Chile. I live in Ecuador, and I have been doing like 3D post-production for over 17 years. It's been a while, and the last 2-3 years I have been doing color grading. And for me, SMPTE, it was, as many people here said, it was like a standard thing. It was like the color bars. that was my idea that this was. And I was really lucky enough to meet Barbara and Renard at the HPA Tech Retreat. And I listened a little bit and was really interested to be a part of a community, you know, because here in Latin America and now especially in Ecuador, you feel like this great disconnect. And now with, I don't know, this home office thing, it's like Renard said, you know, like we are alone all day. And it's like, I found it really amazing just to be here and, I don't know, being quiet and hearing everyone talk. For me, it's like really amazing, you know, just the opportunity to hear so many talented people at so many great places. It's just mind-blowing. And one of the things that I want to do is just to grow, you know, to expand my knowledge, to be better, to have new ideas, to do new things. Like, you know, I hear about, I don't know, VR, AR, whatever, and it's like, oh my God, yes. I hear about remote grading, remote work, yes. You know, anything new, it's awesome. And I think that just being here, it's a great opportunity. I feel like I'm a little small compared to everyone here, you know, like working at big companies and with big projects. I tend to dwell more in advertising projects, but I don't know. I feel a little bit small here, but that's great, you know, like finally meeting a group of people that are, I feel like so much more advanced, you know, like technically and with experience. And just to be like a little part of that, for me, it's mind-blowing. So thank you for Julian, this opportunity.
I want to say something. You're not small. Every member counts. Every member counts for SMPTE, and SMPTE has to provide for everybody a value and value proposition, just to make this absolutely sure. And thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Hans?
Yes.
Yeah, just to add to, Nicole spoke before, and she's from Cal State. And actually, Pat and I have actually talked to a couple of schools at Cal State. And one of the things I'd like to point out is that to create a SMPTE student chapter is a daunting task, because it takes so much time to create one and nurture one. And I think we need to start finding other ways, additional ways. Obviously, we're talking about that within the membership community. However, with regard to Cal State, they do have their own fantastic website called CSU Entertainment Alliance. So there's like 20 plus schools that have media programs in California among the state university system. And what they've done is they've tried to join a lot of that information together. And thankfully, SMPTE is a partner with that website as well. So there are a lot of initiatives we need to keep looking at. I love your idea of micro initiatives. That's fantastic. But
and
I just
feel
want to make that point.
Yeah, yeah. And before I move to Pat, once more, I want to reiterate. I mean, there is this old saying about you can always excuse later. And any one of you, or when you talk to your colleagues and you want to do something, you want to create something, just do it. Don't think that you need to get permissions from board or whoever. I mean, go out and open up the community, open up the society, bring in people. And sometimes I really have to say we are much too procedural. And of course, at a certain moment, we need to, of course, watch out for admin and so forth, but do the grassroots stuff. Go out, spread the voice, bring in ideas, and don't be too administrative. I think time is not waiting for us to solve our admin problems and get everything cleared. Doing is the motto. Pat, you were patiently waiting.
Well, I was just going to add to John, I'm actually on the board of that California Alliance, which includes all 20 plus California state universities. And it's about media. So it's an interesting group. Not much has happened in the past year, as you might imagine. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm sorry I was late. I was on another call. I past President Pat Griffiths, and I'll quickly say, well, we don't have enough time for me to talk about how long I've been involved in SMPTE, but like Mike Zink and others, I got stuck through standards. And from there, once you're in, you never get away. So it's been a great experience. I love the organization. I love the industry. And I think, as others have mentioned, I love the people. It's a great group of people, and I feel privileged to be here. But to close on the student chapters, I've always been a big fan of that. I think it's one of our strengths and something that we've continued to build on. I like the idea of the student club. John Chuck and I have talked a lot about having companion chapters where maybe a chapter in LA becomes friends with a chapter in the UK. And in this era of Zoom, reason that they couldn't have meetings and share their experiences, their challenges, get to know one another. And if we ever get to travel again, maybe make a trip and go have friends now as you go from one part of the world to another, maybe even down in Ecuador, for all I know. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat. Colleagues, what I'm going to do now is, I mean, we can stay here as long as we like, and I will stay a little bit longer, certainly. But when you look on our guests today, they reflect in a way the broad generations of SMPTE. And I think there were times when everybody was only talking about the student generation. Then there were times when everybody was talking about the early career generation. Then there were people who were talking about those who go soon in retirement and urgently need an award. And many times the generation in the middle, which is also very important, between 40, 35, 40, 50, is a critical generation too. And I think we all of them have them here today, and they reflect probably different demands and wishes for SMPTE. My last round with the guests, actually, and I also include Barbara here, is where I would like to ask you, what would you wish from an SMPTE in the future? What would you wish SMPTE to be? I mean, really for you and what you represent in the future. And I start perhaps with Jessica.
All right, then. Jessica here again.
Hello, Jessica.
My wish for SMPTE is, I'm still a relatively new member, which is probably why I was the first chosen to answer. And I think what some of you are saying resonates very strongly with me, namely getting out to more people of different I guess my focus would be age and stages of career, both pre-career, middle school, high school. For example, when I was going to school, I majored in mechanical engineering, and I didn't realize this was an industry until I went to UC Berkeley. So Pixar happened to be in my backyard, and they came in for a recruiting session for programmers. But then I started looking into what they had, and they had internship opening in their media systems department. So I think awareness is a really big part of it. I think this is a really cool industry. People my age, your age, every age consume media via broadcast television, streaming, TikTok, everything. And I think it's so cool to get to work in this industry, that to have younger people or people who want to make a career change consider it would be really awesome, to bring different people into the industry. And also it's just a good time. More people can have a good time. So, and early mid-career, I think it's really valuable to have other people to be role models and see where we could go. There's so many, like I said before, so many different fields within this industry that people can go into, get very technical, get into management, get into planning what the future of the technology is going to be, win some awards someday. You know, there's so many different paths you can go down. And I think the more communication and the more community we can build across all generations, as Hans keeps saying, or career stages, the better for the industry and for people.
It's really at my heart. I mean, we do so many good things in SMPTE, which is not known to the industry. And of course, we are not having enough young people. That's clear. It's always the case. But I think you're absolutely right. I support what you say. To whom do you pass it? To the left or to the right?
Hans Paul Carey is raising his hand.
I do.
Hey, Paul.
How are you, Hans?
Good.
Just a little history. I joined the organization in 1981 and dove right into, was deeply involved in facilitating the experiments for the adoption of 240M, our HDTV color standard, and then went on to become a manager in SMPTE, and then ultimately chaired the Hollywood section in the 92-93 time frame. And one of the things that was most important to me was outreach to organizations that were involved. You know, we, as SMPTE, it's essentially multidisciplinary. We have, you know, in motion imaging, in photography, it's the chemistry, it's the physics, it's these days it's logic design and programming, it's whatever. And while I was chair of the Hollywood section, I created an outreach situation where I cross-pollinated within the SIGGRAPH community, the computer graphics community, and we would do joint meetings together. And I also reached out to SID, the Society for Information Display.
Yes.
And I still have strong relationships in that organization. I planted my foot in that for a time. And going forward, we should, I don't know if this terminology sits well, but I'd always like to infect some of the other organizations with
with a positive infiltration.
Yes, absolutely. So that they recognize that in media and entertainment especially, but in all areas, that the journal might be a place for them to put, an SID member might also look to see that they publish in the SMPTE Journal. Of course, there's the IEEE, which we're well linked with, but the the outreach to the organizations. There almost should be somebody who's, I'm sure that many of us belong to many different professional societies and organizations, and as I do as well, but to make SMPTE's presence known and be the strange attractor, if you will.
Positive virus. Yeah.
Excuse me?
I said a positive virus.
Yes, a positive virus, but also since motion imaging in general is such a multidisciplinary whatever, that we be mindful and perhaps seek to attract others who are shaping that whole proposition. And so I would say that we should really have focus on outreach to other professional societies.
Good point.
Yeah.
And I support this. Yeah, I support this very much because of the transversal nature we have in any case. Also with the game industry, the game engines and all of that. And of course, what you say with SID is predominantly important as well, and CGRAPH. I'm fully, so that's another important outcome here. Thanks. Thanks. So what's your wish, Michael?
Which one?
You still here?
I'm still here.
One wish. I know you have so many wishes. What is your most
I did not know that this
one?
was the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but
try it, because you're on the board, which means we need to realize your wishes.
Oh boy, if I only knew that before. So I think what I find most interesting and exciting is that, and it's kind of like building on what Jessica said, I think we're in a really interesting time where awareness, from my perspective, is really the big thing that we need to work on. There's, as an industry at large, I think we have an opportunity where more than ever before, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of visibility around being a media technologist. It's something that I think has always been there, and it's always been somewhere in the closet, someone putting some wires together. But I think it's becoming more and more visible these days. You've seen a lot more behind the scenes footage. You've seen a lot more in the news of how media technology really drives creative and helps filmmaking by itself. And what I found in the past is you have these two camps. You have either people that go to school in order to become a creative or a filmmaker, whether they want to become a cameraman or cinematographer or director or editor or what have you, or you have people that go to get an EE or a computer science major. But what I always found very challenging is finding someone that kind of like can bridge the gap in the middle and understands what video timecode is. And I think we as SMPTE can really bring more awareness to the younger generation, particularly like Renard mentioned as well, not just even college students, but certainly potentially even going younger than that, in order to raise awareness that there are really great and exciting careers in the movie and entertainment business that aren't necessarily in front of the camera, that aren't necessarily right behind the camera, but that are there in order to really support and bring creative visions to life. And I think that raising that awareness will really help in making SMPTE the place for people to be, not just to learn more about it and to be educated, which is one of the things we're really trying to do, but at the same time, having that camaraderie and having that community, I think, will be really important. That's so important. My wish is for SMPTE to really keep working on how do we raise awareness, not just of SMPTE, but of that field of the exciting field of media technology to begin with.
Thanks, Michael. And you, Renard? Your wish?
My wish is to automatically be able to unmute without having to actually hit the unmute button. That is my wish. Well, to be honest, I think one thing is the chat messages are just blowing up, and I think this is great. This is really awesome to see all of this great energy here. I think what I would really like, my wish would be to be able to harness this type of energy and for us to be able to get some of these initiatives out the gate faster. Because there's so much that we all want to do. But, Peter Peter Weitzel as my guide, as always, he points out some of the hurdles that we have to get over in order to do it properly. So I think my wish would be, let's clear some of the hurdles. Let's make this organization a lot more agile, and let's start doing a lot more than we do now faster. Because we have all these great ideas. I mean, every meeting I'm in, people are just throwing out these awesome ideas. So let's start putting them, let's putting them into action. That's really my wish.
Let's get the horsepower of the engine onto the road, as the friends of BMW always say.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Simon Gauntlett had to move. Is Simon still here?
I'm still here at the moment, but I do have to go in a sec. But yeah, a lot of it, Ted, I very much support. I think it's about, what we need to improve on is about awareness. I think there are some really good areas that we can do. I'd love to see, YouTubers making videos about, so there are millions of followers, about SMPTE and what SMPTE does and its impact. So, next time iJustine talks about what's going on, then she should mention SMPTE. That's my wish.
Yes.
You're definitely a dreamer, Simon.
Friends, my wish. So I liked very much that we had this opportunity, that SMPTE headquarters is trying new things with this kind of a forum, with this club. I like very much. I like this very much. I like experimenting. I like getting up the communities. I like really the collaboration. I wish that many more of you would, at the next club meeting, which we are going to have, will also speak up. I would wish that you send me emails about your ideas. And I would wish, similar like others, that quickly we can change and transform the organization and respond to the needs of the members. I would also wish, as my last wish, we need resources, we need volunteers. Feel engaged, not always think it's gonna kill me if I volunteer with all of these big projects. As I said, micro-volunteering counts as well. Start small. I know we are all super busy. I'm also working for an association called EBU, and my members, I always say, they have the same situation like an SMPTE member. High ambitions, but little time. But start small, colleagues, start small with small contributions, and is also counting. So I think with this, many of us already need to be in the next meeting. I would like to thank everybody. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, headquarters. Thanks everybody who came to this meeting and joined us. And I wish you all a fantastic day and very soon a great weekend. Until to the next club meeting, because this is going to be a regular event.
Yes.
This is going to be regular. Speak soon again to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks. Good job.
Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Take care, everyone.
Great
Bye-bye.
stuff.
Bye, everybody.